Dear friends, welcome to this electrical engineering knowledge sharing channel AMP workshop at the rate of power system. Greetings for visiting workshop 1 power system protection. We are in session 3 of workshop 1. Session 3 part 1 we have already completed. Today we will be discussing session 3 part 2. In the part 2, we will be trying to cover within 45 to 50 minutes one of the protection function, that is directional overcurrent function. Then we will discuss distance protection function. Then we will go to the unit scheme, and then we will discuss about the various contracts of the relay. Actually, these various contracts we were planned to discuss in the last session, session 2, but unfortunately it was missed out. So we will cover it by today if time permits. So let's start session 3 part 2, directional overcurrent relay. We have already discussed in part 1 the various non-directional overcurrent relay and their characteristics. Now, why the directional overcurrent relay comes into the picture? Before going to this directional overcurrent relay, let me explain one scenario. So why directional overcurrent relay is required. Now, difference between non-directional overcurrent relay and directional overcurrent relay. Non-directional overcurrent relay can see the current in both ways. Either direction of the relay, it can see the current. But in case of directional overcurrent relay, it can see the current in one direction only, not in the other direction. That will come back afterwards. For explaining this directional overcurrent relay, I have to save the time. I have drawn on picture in advance. This is one picture, we have one diagram we have drawn where there is a generator, there is a switch gear, and then from there are two feeders connected between these two switch gear, which may be suppose 10 kilometer or 5 kilometer away by cables. Now in this 5 kilometer cable, there is a breaker over here, there is a breaker over here. So there is a protection over here R1, there is a protection here R2. This is a protection one R1 dash, protection R2 dash. These are the four protection, and then it is going outgoing, various outgoing feeders from here, which I have shown only one outgoing. There are so many outgoing feeders are going. Each are the protection. Now let's see what is happening. Suppose there is a fault over here. There is a short circuit over here on this line. Then who is the source? Source is over here. This is a generator. So it will be feeding the short circuit current or fault current through this network. Now how the current will come? The current will come over here. Then here it will be divided in two parts because all are closed. So one part will be coming through this, other part will be coming through this again. Then this current will be joining over here. Then it will go to the short circuit because short circuit current is about 20 to 30 times of load current. So load current is not a predominant. So short circuit current is predominant. So this short circuit current will be coming through this way as well as another part this way, joining over here, then it will operate. Now in case of overcurrent protection, we know that as per selectivity, what we will do, this relay should operate first for the fault over here. And accordingly, it will see the current. It is a non-directional relay. It can see this way as well as current flowing this way. As the current is flowing this way, so this relay will see the fault, immediately fault will be clear. So my network is not disturbed and other outgoing feeder is not getting disturbed. Only the feeder where the fault is there, that is getting disconnected by opening this breaker. So it is fine. So here this relay, whether it is seeing this way or that does not make any difference for the outside fault. But now you consider there is a fault over here in this line. Why we have given these two, intention of these two, given two link like this way, that if any one of the link is out, then the other should maintain. If there is any fault any of the link, that link will be out, but the other link will be maintained, so that all the outgoing feeder could be catered for. That is the intention of this two link provided. Okay. Now if the fault is over here, then what will happen? In that case, you see, suppose the fault current is IF2. This is the fault current flowing. The moment fault is over here, the current, this generator will try to feed this fault current because fault current is 20 times or 25 times of the load current. So load current is not the predominant, fault current is predominant. When the current come over here, then it has a two path. One part will coming this way and it will be feeding to the fault. This element, suppose this is a non-directional element, this is also non-directional, means it can see current this way as well as this way. If we consider this is also the same way, it can see both way, This is also, so all are non-directional. If all are non-directional, then what will happen? It will go current, it will come the current through this way, this will sense the current. Then another current will come this way, it will go through this, come this way. Then it is the fault path is over here, so all are closed. So it will go this way and then it will feed into the fault. So one fault current is coming this way, this, and other is this. Now, if all are non-directional, so this will sense the fault, this will sense the fault, this will sense the fault, this will sense the fault. For this type of network, the relay which is away from the source, that setting will be lower than the relay whose setting which is near to the source. So R2 setting will be lower. Suppose this setting is 0.5 second, then this second will be 1 second, like this. This also same 0.5 second, 1 second in case of non-directional. So what will happen when there is a fault over here? Immediately this relay is sensing the fault, this relay also sensing the fault. So the moment it will sense the fault and this is also sensing the fault, so both will open. So it can be open at same time or it can be open in different time. But the moment there is a fault over here, this due to non-directional, this current is seeing the current this way, this is also seeing this way, it can also operate. So these two will operate simultaneously. Then what will happen? Then this link, this current is not coming and this current is coming to the fault. After 1 second, this will not see any more fault because this is open, but this will still see the fault, it will also open. So in that case, the total link is getting out. So we are not getting the discrimination. We cannot save the outputs. So what we will do over here? In that case, to avoid this thing, if we can put a relay here, in such a relay, in this position, if I can put a relay here, that relay will look only this direction. And here we'll put this relay R2, it will look this direction only, in the upward direction. It will look towards the source. If we can make this type of arrangement in the relay R2 and R2 dash, that the R2 and R2 dash relay will look towards the source only. If this is the case, then what will happen? Now when the fault is over here, then this fault current will pass through this. It is a non-directional, but its setting is 1 second. It will see the fault, but it will wait. And here what is happening? This current is coming through this relay. It is going through this way. Now this relay is looking this way, current flow only. But when the current is, in this case, current is coming downward, so this relay will not see this current. It will not sense that current. But this relay, what will happen? It is also, the current is coming this way and then it is going to the fault. In that case, this relay will sense the current immediately. The moment it senses the current, then immediately after 0.5 second, this relay will operate and this breaker will open, right? And this relay is not operating because this current is flowing this way and this relay is set to look this way. So it will not see the current. So what will happen? This breaker will remain closed and this breaker will get open after 0.5 second. Okay. Now the moment it is open, now this current unable to feed in this position, then it will feed the normal load. So this link is safe. Then what will happen? But at that point, this relay is still sensing the current because it's a non-directional and current is flowing this way to the fault. So when this breaker is open, immediately this system is get back to normal. It is following the normal, but this relay is still sensing the fault current, and after 1 second this will open. So after 1 second this will open, so it is open. So what is happening? Then this generator is feeding power to the outgoing. So if I put this specific feature, that is it looks toward the source, then we can save this output. Otherwise we cannot save this output even though we have a standby connection. So this is the one of the application of the directional overcurrent relay. This directional overcurrent relay also useful in the case of ring main system. In the ring main system also we need some directional element to sense the current in one direction. So this is the application where non-directional overcurrent relay cannot discriminate. In that case we need a directional overcurrent relay. Now this directional overcurrent relay, how does it work? Now I am deleting this part. Now directional overcurrent relay, what is the basic difference between these two relay? In case of directional overcurrent relay, what we do, in addition to the current coil, the directional overcurrent relay also sense the current. In addition to the current, it will sense another voltage. Okay, by voltage give a polarization to the current coil, so it will give the restraining. So when you give a voltage to the non-directional overcurrent relay, non-directional overcurrent relay is converted to directional overcurrent relay. and this voltage we always give a cross reference. Means if I suppose there is a three phase relay, each phase has one relay element. If a phase relay, the relay element which is connected to A phase, that relay will get voltage from other two phases. That is called cross reference. I am drawing a small picture so it will be clear to all of you. Suppose this is a B, C. This is the three phases. Now here I have a CT. These are the three CT. Okay, and then there is a PT. Suppose there is a PT is connected over here. Suppose this is a three single phase PT connected. Okay. Now from this PT, what we will do now? This CT. Now this CT, this has a relay. Suppose this relay we call directional overcurrent relay. We call 67. The tag is a 67. That is directional overcurrent relay. Directional overcurrent relay. That is the tag. Now this is a 67A. That is a phase element. The A phase element, when it will send the current from A phase, and it will take the voltage. This is your A, this is B, and this is C. It will take voltage from B and C. So this voltage will come to this relay. That is a VBC. You can write. So this is a cross reference. When A phase current is coming, this is A phase current. Voltage is taking from B and C. This is the voltage. Okay. This voltage is going to the relay. From B phase and C phase voltage going to the relay. Then it is similarly when I connect this, suppose this is a 67B relay. So it is taking B phase current, and here we will take the voltage from C phase and the voltage from A phase. This voltage will go to the relay. So this way cross reference is given. When we give this cross reference voltage, then this will give the restraining. That means it will detect the which direction relay will sense the current, but it will not operate till the voltage is giving the proper direction. So this voltage, by giving this voltage, we can make the relay directional. So that is the way this directional relay works. So to explain it better way, I have drawn one vector diagram over here. Now suppose this is a three-phase system. In case of three-phase system, we have a three-phase voltage VA, VB, VC. That is a secondary voltage. That's PT voltage. So this is a three-phase. It is a balanced condition. The angle all are 120 degree. Okay. Now, what we are doing here is this element is getting current IA or the I phase. This is the IA current. Suppose this is the IA current I have drawn over here. This is a current IA which is taking this through this IA current. Okay. And IA current is going to the relay coil. At the same time, it is taking voltage VBC. What is VBC? VBC means VBC equals to, this is a vector VB minus VC, right? So this is a VC. If I take a VC negative, then VC go this way. This is a minus VC, okay? Minus VC. So minus VC, that means equal to VB plus minus VC. If you add these two, then you will get a VBC. That means I make a parallelogram with the VB and minus VC. This is a parallelogram, so this is a VBC. So this VBC voltage we are giving to the relay, okay? That means this is the voltage we are giving and this is the current we are giving to the relay. Now, when we design the relay, there is another terminology. Now, the current and voltage, there is a, when this current for the same voltage, there is a different current, it can happen, it can give different torque. We have noticed that if you make this VBC, if you lead this VBC voltage from this position, if you make it lead by 45 degree, if you lead from this position by 45 degree, that with that 45 degree leading angle, if you put the voltage, this voltage if you make 45 degree leading in terms of the original voltage VBC, original position, or other way, from this phase to neutral voltage of A phase, with that voltage, with that reference, if you make this VBC voltage 45 degree lagging, that means this is a 45 degree lagging in terms of VA, or it is a 45 degree leading in terms of VBC. This is called V dash Vc. You can say other way. If you let this 45 degree leading with reference to this or 45 degree lagging in terms of phase to neutral voltage, at that position with a minimum current, this relay can operate. That is called maximum torque angle or relay characteristics angle. How we get this thing? When we order the relay to the manufacturer, we have to mention which angle we need. There will be different configuration you can make. You can make 30 degree angle, you can make 45 degree angle, but we have observed 45 degree angle relay is the best relay for this directional purpose. So we have to tell the manufacturer, I need the maximum torque angle or the relay characteristics angle 45 degree. Accordingly, he will manufacture the relay. That means at that time what will happen? This VBC voltage which is given to the relay, by making some internal arrangement, this VBC will be leading by 45 degree from normal VBC position, this normal VBC position, or it will be lagging by 45 degree from the phase to neutral voltage of VA. So in this position, voltage will be applied to this. Now, depending on the fault location, the fault current will be decided and the phase angle, how much impedance in the circuit. So this current IA, it can vary in different position and different magnitude. So we have observed if the current is lagging by 45 degree and coincide with the maximum torque angle, then the minimum current is required to operate the relay. So that means in this position, current is minimum to operate the relay. So if we give the minimum current with this V dash Vc, that means VBC voltage will be 45 degree leading from the original VBC, then the directional overcurrent relay will see the fault towards the source and with a minimum fault current. But this relay we can operate from, this is the line, this is called, this side is a positive torque and this side is a negative torque. So the relay operating will be in this area, relay will be operating. That means 45 degree leading from phase to neutral voltage to 135 degree lagging from phase to neutral voltage. That means this is total 180 degree area it can operate, where the operation leading by 45 degree this way, lagging is this way. Leading, when you give the leading, then it will look in the reverse direction, but when you go for lagging, it will look toward the source side. So by selecting the impedance of the line, the current can be decided. Accordingly, it will be looking forward towards the source side. So this is a in brief directional overcurrent relay. How does it work? Characteristic of the directional overcurrent relay is similar to that of this overcurrent relay. It has a different characteristic. Like non-directional overcurrent relay, I can make different characteristics, but the operation or looking, the non-directional current relay can operate in either direction. This, in case of non-directional relay, it can look towards the source or towards the load, but in case of directional overcurrent relay, depending on this current magnitude, either it will look towards the source or towards the load. It cannot see in both direction. This is the difference between non-directional and directional overcurrent relay, and this is the application of the directional overcurrent relay. With this, we will close directional overcurrent relay. This is one of the non-unit protection. Now we will go back to second non-directional non-unit protection. We call distance protection. Okay. Now to explain the distance protection, why we need the distance protection, I have drawn another diagram on this board. Let me explain this distance protection requirement, why it has come up. You see, I have drawn a very simple picture over here. This is a two generator. Suppose this generator is 100 megawatt generator producing at 33 kV, 100 megawatt generator producing at 11 kV, say. Both are 100 kV. There is a generator transformer which is converting 11 kV to 132 kV. These are there, and then there is a transmission line of 132 kV. This is the meter. It is maybe 100 kilometer long transmission line, and this is the configuration. So these two generators are connected in parallel to the bus, and from there line is feeding. Now suppose there is a fault over here. So how much fault current will flow? The fault current, खूब simple formula, IF1. If we say fault current IF1, if the fault is over here, how much fault current will come? IF1 equals to, that is it is a 132 kV bus, right? If it is 132 kV bus, the bulb voltage is 132 kV, that is the phase voltage by line voltage divided by √3 into impedance. So up to this point, what is the impedance? Now here you see impedance is, these are the two impedance connected in parallel, 10 ohm, 10 ohm, and there is this line 4 ohm. It is, I have shown here as a bulk form, but it is actually distributed over the line, because it is for each meter there is a resistance, there is a inductance, So it is a uniformly distributed. Here I am not considering the leakage in conductance or capacitance. That is very a small amount. That's why I am not in this calculation. I am not considering any capacitance or conductance. Only resistance and reactance value we are considering. But this resistance and reactance value in this total covers 100 kilometer. This total is a 4 ohm. That 4 ohm I am shown as a lumped over here, but actually it is physically distributed over the entire length. So what is the equivalent value on this combination? This two 10 ohm to 10 ohm, if you make parallel, it will be 5 ohm, right? And this is a 4 ohm, so this is a total 9 ohm. So that means it will be divided by 9, right? This is the total impedance, and accordingly, if you calculate the fault current, 132 kV into 10 to the power 3, you see, okay? So it will come about 8468, about 8460 ampere, you can say approximately. This will be the fault current if the fault is over here, right? Now suppose there is a relay, this relay is over, there is a relay over here, suppose this is a R1 relay, this is suppose overcurrent relay, okay? This is a, suppose this is a overcurrent relay, either direction non, it is suppose non-directional overcurrent relay. So this relay, when the fault over here, the relay will cease 8460 ampere current flowing through this. So if this fault is not within this relay is provided, why? It is provided to protect this line only, up to this portion to be protected. If the fault is outside, then it should not protect. If money it should not look into. Now, if the fault is here, this is outside fault. In that case, this relay should not operate. So, if you want to not to operate this relay, if this is the fault current, this relay should set above this fault current so that it will not operate. In this case, relay setting R1, what will be the setting of R1? It will be more than 8460, right? If you put the setting suppose 9000 ampere, if the fault over here, then this relay will not pick up because its pickup setting is 9000 ampere and the fault current is 8460, so it will not pick up. Okay. Now let us consider another scenario. Suppose the fault is over here, just at the starting of the line. In that case, suppose the fault current is IF2. What is IF2? IF2 equal to same way 132 into 10 to the power 3 divided by root 3 into how much impedance it will be here. Suppose in this case I am considering another way. So I have suppose this generating condition has got changed. One of the generator got tripped or one of the generator is not on the line. Okay. Under that condition, this fault has taken place. Okay. Now in that scenario, when one of the generator is working, other generator is out, at that time fault has taken place near to the generator bus bar because the load I have isolated, but the line impedance I bypass. So that means it is near to the bus bar. So how much impedance is coming here? This 10 ohm and no impedance over here. So it is a 10. If you calculate this thing, it will come approximately 760 ampere, 7620 ampere. Okay. So here I have not included the line impedance. So it will be near to the bus. So if the fault is anywhere on the line, the current will be always less than this because the line impedance will be coming. Suppose the fault is at the 50% of the line. Then the 4 ohm, 2 ohm will be coming, then it will become 12 ohm. Current will be further reduced. So this is the maximum current it can be subjected this line. The fault current on this line will be always less than this, right? Because this is a line impedance is discarded here. That's why I consider fault above the line. But this line, depending, suppose it is 75% position fault, then 3 ohm will be including over here. So it becomes 13. If it is a 25% location fault is there, then 1 ohm will be included. It will be 11 ohm. So depend, but I have considered 0 ohm. I have considered fault is over here. So this I want to find out the minimum fault current. So under any circumstances, if any fault on the line, the fault current will be more than this, right? It will be more than this value. So if we want to protect this line, sorry, it will be less than this value. This is the maximum fault current. Now, whenever any impedance coming into here, then obviously the fault current will be, actual fault current will be always less than this. Actual fault current in this scenario always less than 7620, always, because this is the maximum fault current, because this line impedance is discarded. So whenever line impedance included in this, current will be further reduced. So this is the maximum fault current. So if this relay need to operate, then the relay setting will be less than this 7620. In one occasion, I need the relay setting more than 8460. Another occasion, I need relay 7620. In the same relay, I cannot put these two type of setting. This is not possible. So in this case, we cannot use a overcurrent relay. To meet this type of unusual requirement, new type of relay we consider, there's a new type of relay has come up which we use in this type of application, that is called distance relay. Now the distance relay, we use the tag for the distance relay. That is your 21 is the tag or IEEE number or ANSI number for the distance relay. Okay. The distance relay we always tag as a 21. This is called distance relay. This is called distance relay. Now this distance relay, how does it work? Distance relay work by measuring the distance of the line. The relay will operate based on the distance. Suppose a line 100 kilometer length, resistor or impedance is 10 ohm. Okay, I put in the relay, it is 10 ohm. And now the relay has a capability to measure this impedance. The moment it will measure, suppose there is measure impedance 8 ohm, and I have put in the relay setting 10 ohm. 10 ohm means entire length. So the moment it will say 8 ohm means you will see the fault is within the line, then immediately it will click. Okay, how is it? I am showing you. Suppose I have suppose this is a transmission line of 100 kilometer. Now, suppose this resistance of this I have considered 4 ohm. Now, in the relay, I will put the setting, suppose maximum 4 ohm. That means when the relay will measure the impedance 4 ohm, immediately you will feel this relay is measuring from here at this position. The moment it will measure 4 ohm, you will understand the fault is over here. But if it measure a 2 ohm, then it will understand over here at 50% of the line. Intention of this relay, if there is any fault on the line, anywhere in the line from 0% to 100%, then the relay should operate. That's why I have give the setting 100% setting is 4 ohm because this line impedance is 4 ohm. So whenever it will this relay measure the impedance value 4 ohm or less than 4 ohm, immediately the relay will operate. Okay. So how that impedance it is measuring, that is will now show. Now first I will show why I said that impedance of a line is proportional to the length. Whatever the length of the line, impedance will be proportional to this. How we can establish this thing? I am simply showing you this impedance of this line. What are the contribution over here? The impedance consisting of resistance, right? Resistance, then inductance, right? Inductance, that is L, then capacitance C, and conductance. You can say this way, that is a G. Now these are very leakage capacitance, very small, so I am not considering this thing. Only I am considering resistance and inductance. Suppose this line per unit meter or per kilometer you can say, or per unit meter, resistance is R. This is the R per unit length. Okay, resistance per unit length, and inductance L is a per unit length. Okay, per unit length in MS unit. Okay, resistance per unit, it is an ohm, and it is a conductance, inductance is per unit. Now for the resistance, it has a R ohm resistance. Suppose this length is 100 kilometers. Suppose I am considering length of the line is X. Okay, length of the line. So total length 100 at any point of the line I can consider length X. So I will show impedance is proportional to X. So R equals to how much? The per unit length resistance is R. The total up to suppose X length. X is the length of the line we are considering. Length of the line we are considering. Okay. So if X is the length, the resistance how much? R into X. Right. This is the total resistance up to X length. Resistance for X length. Resistance for X length. Similarly, this your inductance how much? Inductance also L into X. So due to L into X, what will be the reactance? Reactance equal to omega, that is a omega into Lx. L into X, that is the reactance. Now the impedance of this line, if you say Z is the line impedance for the X length, so Zx equal to how much? Square root of resistance square plus reactance square plus X square, right? This is equal to R square plus X means X, yeah, here X square R square plus here is a omega square into L square into X square. So if you take the X out, then X into root of R square plus omega square and L square, capital L square. So you see, impedance of the line, this R and omega L all are for a particular frequency for 50 Hz or 60 Hz. Omega is constant. R is per unit resistance of the line, that is for a particular line it is constant, it is also constant. So Zx depend on what? That means we can say Zx is proportional to the x, that is length of the line. As the length of the line increases, impedance will be increases. So if I can measure the impedance of the line, then I can say that is proportional to the length. If the impedance is 10%, the line will be 10%. If the impedance of 20% of the full length line, then line length also 20%. So impedance is showing the replica of the line length. So you can say impedance is proportional to the line. So by measuring the impedance, we can measure the distance of the line. Okay. So this distance relay is basis of the distance relay design is based on this. That is, distance relay will measure the impedance of the line. Suppose I am putting a distance relay over here. In case of distance relay, what we need to do? Not only the car CT, we need the voltage, because distance relay measure the voltage, measure the impedance. How it will measure the impedance? It will measure the impedance by sensing the current and voltage. Okay, it will give the voltage from the bus. It is a 130. Suppose it is 132 kV by 110 volt. Okay, and this is, suppose it is a 300 ampere by 1 ampere CT. So this, when a relay to be used as a distance relay, you have to give, like a directional overcurrent relay, you have to give the current signal as well as voltage signal. Okay. Now relay has a capability to calculate this voltage and current and divide it. So this relay, what it will measure, it will measure the impedance due to this voltage and current. We need impedance formula V equal V by I. So if this V is the voltage, normal voltage, I is the fault current. If IF is the fault current flowing through this, so V by I, that equal to is Z, right? Now V by I equal to Z. Now Z equals to how much? That is equal to impedance. Z equal to, we have seen Z equal to X into root of R square plus omega square into L square. This is X. That means Z is proportional to X. So the moment V and I is measured by the relay, it will calculate the Z, and then it will, whatever the value of Z it will get, then with respect to the setting of Z, it will compare. Now the setting of the Z, if we say we want to protect 100% of the line, we'll give the setting or reach setting. Reach, we call one word, that is a reach setting, REACH. Reach setting will give as per our requirement. Suppose I am giving 100% reach setting, means 100% of the line will be protected, 100% of the line. So if this line reactance is, impedance is 4 ohm, that means reach setting I will give 4 ohm. When I give the 4 ohm, that means it will see, relay will understand that I have a setting 4 ohm and I am protecting 100% of the line. So if the fault is in the 50% of the line, suppose this is a 50%, fault is over here, immediately relay will measure by voltage, because the moment fault is over here, if the fault is over here, what about the current over here? And if the fault at 50%, current will be more, because here impedance is 4 ohm, here impedance is 2 ohm, so automatically I use that formula, it will be more impedance, means current will be less. So when the current will be less, automatically impedance will be, you see the current will, here the current, if the 50% fault is there, current will be high. And if the fault is at the 100%, current will be low. If the current is low, impedance is high. Impedance high means longer length. When 50% of the length, the current will be proportionally reduced, then this proportionally increased, automatically Z will be low. When Z will be low, means it is a fault is near to the bus side, but if the Z is high, the fault is near to the line end side. So by measuring this current by the relay, it can measure the impedance, and by that, from this division, relay will understand the fault is within the reach or at the reach point. So maximum 4 ohm, when it is a 3 ohm, it will measure 3 ohm, you will understand 75% of the fault. The fault is within the line, immediately this breaker will, the relay will give command to open the breaker. Similarly, if the fault is 2 ohm, if you measure the impedance 2 ohm, then the relay will understand fault is at 50%, it will operate. But if the relay sense the resistance is 6 ohm, suppose the fault is outside here, so in that case, it will see 4 ohm plus some other resistance will come over, impedance come from the line, then this relay will measure the impedance more than 4 ohm. When it measures the impedance Z measure is more than 4 ohm, then the relay will not operate. So in that case, you see outside fault relay is protecting, but inside fault relay is immediately operating. If Z measure is less than 4 ohm, less than or equal to 4 ohm, immediately relay will operate. So this is the way distance relay operate. Now the distance relay operating zone we can show by vector diagram also. How we can see? You can see the distance relay is measuring two parameter, resistance and reactance, right? This part we call x, reactance. So this is equal to x into root of r square plus reactance square. That is this. So if I draw a Rx diagram, okay, then that will be a vector diagram. We can draw the vector diagram of the impedance relay. How does it look? Now, vector diagram of the Rx relay, suppose one side we are drawing R, another side we are drawing X. Horizontal line, suppose this is a fourth quadrant, this side we are drawing R, this side we are drawing X equals to omega into L, the reactance. This is a reactance and this is the inductance, okay. Now, you see, up to the, suppose length of the line is L or a small l, okay, and at any point is this L 0 more than x and x less than equal to L. That is the equation. The length of the line is, maximum length of the line is L and x is at any point of the line. Suppose this is the length of the line, this is a L and x will be at any point on the line. All are x, value of the x. Suppose this is here x equal to 25% of the L. Suppose this is a 50% of the L. Suppose this way. So now if this is the case for x of the length, the resistance, suppose this is a x into R resistance. For the x length of the line, resistance is this amount. Reactance, how much? Per unit length reactance is x. For x length, it will be x into capital X. Okay. So this point is where? This point is, this is a point. So you are getting 1 point over here for this x. If you go to total length L, then suppose this is L. So it will be R into L, total length, and x will be how much? Suppose x will be here. So this will be coming this point. Okay. So you see now all this, suppose x is still smaller, then you can get another point over here, another point over here. If you connect this will be the, so if you draw this from the central line, this will be the length of the line, that is a z, because this is a x r. If you see this is hypotenuse of a triangle, this is how much? It is a r into L, and this is how much? This is equal to, sorry, this is a x into L, not r into L. This is a x into L, and this is how much? This is equal to r into L. So what is the value of here? Here ZL equal to a square root of capital X into L square plus x L square into plus into r square. So if you take this L square common, L into x square plus r square, right? You see Z equal to L. Similarly, if the fault is over here, so it will be similarly x square into x square plus x square r square. If you take a root, it will be coming x outside, that equal to x square plus r square. So same result we are getting whatever we got over there. So by this vector diagram we can see, so this is the zone of operation. If this measured value, this is the end point. So if you draw a circle, like this, so this is the first quadrant of the circle. If the r and x value anywhere within this circle, the relay will operate. If but the moment it go outside, then it will not. This is the maximum value. This is the maximum value. After that, it will not operate. Okay. So this way distance relay work. So this is the basic principle of distance relay. But we will discuss when we go for the distance relay with a carrier rated scheme. We will discuss in more detail about this distance relay. Okay. Now about this second part of this, these are the two. This is also non-unit protection. Now we said that we will use a another type of protection scheme which we call a unit protection scheme. Where we said unit protection scheme is such that the unit protection scheme will limit the operation within the restricted area. If the fault is outside of that area, it will not operate. That we show either with one of the example is the Marx Price current differential scheme. So that is one of the unit scheme. Then distance protection scheme is a non-unit protection, but with a carrier rated facility, we can convert to a unit protection. That we will discuss. Now come to the differential unit type protection. Unit protection. The unit protection, how we do this? Unit protection means the protection zone will be defined. Within the zone, if suppose this is a transformer, I have a CT over here, I have a CT over here. So this is the zone of protection. If the fault anywhere within this area, this protection will limited within this area. Any side outside of this area, none of the protection device should operate. In that case, we say this is a unit protection. Unit protection means when the abnormal condition in any area, the protection device in that area will only operate. No other unit will be operating. So how this will happen in the case of Marsh price differential protection? Marsh price current differential protection is one of the unit protection. Okay, how it will working I am showing you. Suppose this is the city, okay, and then this is a 87, it is 87, suppose transformer relay 87. Okay, differential protection we tag is a 87 is a differential protection. It is called differential protection. Now with the 87 you can put different number. T means transformer, G for generator, L for line, like you can distinguish 87 in a different way. Now how it is happening, how this system is called unit protection, you see over here. Suppose there is a fault outside of this, okay. So if the fault is outside over this, then there will be current flowing this way to the fault point. So this current, we put the CT in such a way, CT secondary current will be equal. We can select the CT ratio in that way in case of transformer, okay. Now if this is the case, now suppose this current is going through this current is going through this, both are, though the current is, this is I1, this is I2, though I1, I2 could be different, but CT ratio will decide in such a way, CT secondary current with for outside through fault or outside fault current will be identical. This is I, this is also I, okay. Now if the fault is over here, then what is happening? Immediately this, both the CT is carrying the current. Now due to this primary current, CT secondary current will be flowing this way, and here this CT secondary current will be coming this way. So this current will be coming like this, then it will go to the relay coil, and this current will be coming through this. This is I, this is I. So what will happen? Relay, this unit will not see any current at all. It is zero current, so it will not operate. Okay. That means when there is a fault is outside, this relay is not operating. But if the fault is out inside, then what will happen? Suppose the fault is over here. In that case, this is a source side. Suppose this is generator is connected over here. This is a source side. In that case, what will happen? When the fault is over here, the current will go to the fault. But there is no current over here because the current cannot go to the relay, to the CT, because there is a fault over here. So all current is going and then it is going over here. So in that case, this CT is seeing the current I1 and this corresponding current I will be flowing through the CT over coming over here. But this CT, there is no current over here, so there is no current. So what will happen in this case? Immediately 87 see only seeing this current, but from the top there is no current. So there is a net current the relay. Immediately relay will operate and it will trip the, suppose there is a breaker, it will trip the breaker. So it will be isolated. So if the fault is within this, immediately the relay will operate. This is called direction. This is the called unit protection. So when the fault is outside, relay will not operate, but when the fault is inside, immediately relay will operate. This is and that means the protection is limited within the zone. It is called unit type protection. There is similar another protection we can say unit type, like the distance protection. It is a non-unit type protection, but we can convert this distance protection to a unit protection by modifying, which we will discuss afterwards. We call it carrier rated scheme. We can add carrier rated scheme in the distance protection to convert it to non-unit protection to unit protection. We have shown this is a, suppose this is a transmission line, this is a substation 1 and this is a substation 2. Suppose it is a 132 kV substation. Okay. So there is a relay, suppose there is a relay over here, there is a relay over here. Or you can put the CTU on the bus side, so the breaker will also be included within the protection. This is a CT. There is a one relay over here and there is another relay over here. So these are distance protection. So this relay is looking this way, so it will operate as per distance protection. Now what will happen if problem is over here? Suppose there is generator over here, there is a generator over here also. Both sides is feeding. In that case, if this relay R1 over here, suppose there is a fault over here, okay, then this fault will be feeding by this fault will be feeding by this. So this relay will operate, this relay will operate. But if this is no generator over here, in that case these will feed to the fault and these will not feed any fault, and this breaker is closed, this breaker is both closed. The moment it will operate, it will trip the breaker. That is fine. But sometime we need to trip both the, now this is one case. Now if there is a generator connected over here, then to this fault Now this generator can also feed the fault, as well as at the same time it is feeding to the other source, or this feeding is not coming direct from here, it is coming from some other line. The power station is far away from there, it is coming from this way. So if this is the case, in that case what will happen? When the fault on this line, this breaker may trip from the other end, that is we don't want. So what we do in that case? In that case, when the fault is outside, yeah, then the fault current will be feeding from both the relay. Both the relay will sense the fault and it is giving a voltage also. I have shown before, or from the bus you can give the voltage, is getting voltage. Similarly from this bus also you will get the voltage over here. So both the distance relay will measure the impedance and then you will measure. When it will see this relay will see the fault is over here, immediately it will operate. And at the same time, what we can do, we can put some telemetering arrangement. From the telemetering arrangement, it can give signal to this telemetering equipment. This relay also give a signal to the telemetering equipment. And if the fault is outside, both the element will see the equal amount of current. So that current it will compare in the comparator. If the comparator see both the current are identical, if this comparator will understand this fault is outside, then it will not operate. But if the fault is inside, then the comparator only one current will be there, other current is zero, the comparator will understand. So it will be working like a differential relay. But suppose this is 100 kilometer length, so we cannot do that. The differential you need a wiring, we cannot do the wiring 100 kilometer length, maybe it has travel over the mountain or through the sea, we cannot do in this way. What we do, we put a telecommunication channel, we use telecommunication channel, or sometime if this power cable, it is a power cable, then we can put a fiber with the power cable, that fiber can do the job, or through the telecommunication channel we can put a comparator to take the signal from one end to other end. In that case, this power line itself can be used as a carrier, it can use as a power line carrier communication. By that way we can compare this thing, we call it as a carrier array scheme. These details we will discuss afterwards. So in this way the distance protection can be converted to a unit protection. Okay, so in the how we do that, simply what I said, there will be a comparator where both the end current will be phase angle will be taking over here. The comparator will be checking the current magnitude and the phase angle. By checking the current magnitude and phase angle, the comparator will understand the fault is inside or outside. If the fault is inside, the comparator will say fault is inside, so it will give the command for both the breaker, both will open. But if the comparator understands fault is outside, then it will not issue a tripping command. This way, this protection can be converted, distance protection can be converted to a unit protection. So these are the distance protection and unit protection, two types I discussed, this differential protection and distance protection. Now we will discuss about the various contacts of a relay, which we missed out in the session 2. Now in any relay there is a various type of contact it could be. Some of the contact is instantaneous, some of the contact is a time delayed. Okay, so this contact, how we'll define this contact, that we'll discuss. Now there are 6 type of contacts. One is a NO contact, we say NO, normally open contact. It is a ANSI sign. This is a NC contact. Then we have another 4 time delay contact. We can there is a different way to show it. It is called normally open, time delay, closed. Okay. Then another is a normally open, time delay, open. Okay. Then another is a normally closed, time delay, open, and normally closed, time delay, closed. These are the another 4 different type of contact we are using. These are the total 6 type of contact. To understand this operation of the contact, what we do, I am showing to understand this contact operation, how it works. I am drawing 2 picture over here. This is a current coil which is getting a power supply. Okay, this is a power supply. This is a off position of the supply, and this is a on position of the supply. When that means power supply is on to the coil. You know this contact how is operate. We mentioned before, we give a current to the coil, then coil has a contact as armature. The armature will make the contact, then the various contact will make back. So this current is this coil current, and this contact is mounted on the armature. The moment this coil get electricity or power or current, immediately the contact will make or break depending on the initial states. So coil supply is a activating parameters, and then the contact will change over. Now the contact has a 2 position. You can draw over here. This is suppose open position. and then there is another position. These are the two position is possible for a contact. This is a close position. This is open. This is a close. Okay. Now, for normally open contact, what will happen? The moment current pass through the coil, immediately the contact normally open. Normally, this is the status of the coil. Immediately, contact will go to close. This is a closed state. It will go to close, and till the power is there, up to that time it will remain closed. The moment power supply goes off, it will go back to open position. So this will be the diagram of the NO contact. The moment power coming, immediately contact from open position goes to closed position, and closed position will be maintaining. The moment this power get off in the coil, immediately contact will come back to the normal, it come back to open. Okay, this is for the normally NO contact. Now if you go to the normally closed contact, then what will happen? This scenario will be different. In that case, contact is initially this position. The moment power supply come to the coil, immediately this closed contact will become open. It will go over here. Okay, and then it will maintain the open position up to what time? Till the power is there in the coil. The moment power goes off, immediately drop to closed position. So it will be just reverse. So this is a normally closed contact. Now this other fourth type of contacts made out of this contact with some for our operational flexibility. This NO contact, what is happened? It is a NO. Normally it is a NO position, but the moment power supply come over here, it will not close immediately. So it will take some delay to close. Suppose this is a 5-second delay. Power supply come over here. It should get to change over to close in this position, but it will not change here. It will take some time. Then only it will close. Okay. So it will close and it will maintain close up to the power supply. It will maintain. Then it will go to open position. So in that case, this will be the nature of this. This is suppose 5-second delay. So it will be close only after 5 seconds. Okay. This is a normally open. Normally this close is normally open, but it is getting close after 5 seconds. So this is getting close 5 seconds, and the moment power up, it goes off. Okay. This is a normally open, time delay closed. Then third one is a normally open, time delay open. What is that? Suppose this is a normally open contact. The moment power supply comes, immediately it will go to close position. Okay. And then it will maintain a close position. But when it become to again open position, it will not go instantly. This moment, in this instant, power goes off. Coil is de-energized, but the contact will not come back to the open position immediately. It will take some, depend how much delay you are giving. If you give 10-second delay, after 10 seconds only it will go to the open position. So it will maintain its closed position for even after switching of the power to the coil. That is called normally open, time delay open. Okay, it is getting open after some time delay. Similarly, the last one, normally closed, time delay closed. How it will be? This is a normally open, time delay open. Okay, now we are going normally closed, time delay closed. How it is? This is a closed position. Now normally closed means contact is in this position, but when it goes to close to open position, normally time delay open, it will take some delay to open it. So in this position, power supply comes up, it's supposed to go in open position over here, but it will not go open position over, it will maintain the closed position for some time more, then it will go to open position. And then the moment power supply cut off, it immediately goes to the closed position again. So this is a delay of 5 seconds. Suppose or 10 seconds as you give the delay. This is called NC, normally closed, time delay open. You see here, normally it is closed. When it is getting open, after some time delay, it is getting open and maintaining open, and the moment power supply goes off, it goes back to closed position. Okay. Now the fourth contact is a normally closed, time delay closed. Normally contact in this position. Okay. The moment power supply comes to the coil, immediately this contact will go to the open position. Okay. Then it will maintain the open position up to this point. The moment power supply goes off, in this point power supply, this is the time power supply goes off, then immediately this contact will not drop. The contact will not come back to the closed position again. It will take some time. Suppose this is the power supply goes off, it takes some time, then only it will come off. It will come to over here. That means contact will maintain this open position. From initial closed position, it go to open, it will maintain open position even after cut off the power to the coil, maybe depending on the time t second as you give the delay. After that, the contact come to the original closed position. This is called NCTC contact. In the various protection schemes, we need this type of contact. When we will discuss about the various protection schemes, we will show this contact, we will explain how does it work. These are the various contact configuration and action. So this is all about for today's session. And we'll in this next session, session 4, we will discuss various protection schemes, their wiring diagram, how to connect CTPT connections, all these things will show in the next session, session 4. So thank you very much, all of my friends. Thank you for your joining in this knowledge sharing workshop. However, if you have any comment, please feel free to advise me so that I can respond to your comment, or I can update my presentation or my presentation accordingly so that it will be good for everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you.